Welcome to The Journey, a different kind of storybook. Today's story is Reputation. So please, make yourself comfortable and see if you see yourself or someone you love in the story. When addicts are going through their storm, they lose a whole lot of tangible things along the way. The non-tangible can be just as costly, maybe even more. It could be a matter of what we value and how much. I've heard it said that when we die that we can't take our stuff with us. What stuff? What stuff do they mean? Our material possessions surely can't go with us. What about the things that truly define us? Such as our reputation. The things we did, the things that we said. If we are kind, thoughtful, loving, caring, and friendly, or any other good quality before we became addicted, all those wonderful traits are soon replaced with selfishness, sneaky, lying, and stealing behaviors. A good reputation builds us up, while a bad reputation tears us down. I knew a girl by the name of Jill. She was smart, good-looking, and she had a wonderful personality. When she was a young girl, she was subjected to sexual abuse and social injustice. She was very popular in school, but away from school, she was very alone. People really loved being around her, but there were certain social barriers that she just wasn't allowed to cross. The ripples from her rape and the racism of the times had a profound impact on her for many, many years. Despite those devastating occurrences, Jill still graduated high school and was voted the most popular girl of her class. As the years went by, Jill went on with her life. She tried to forget the injustices that had been done to her and stuffed them deep inside. Those three magnetic traits that I mentioned earlier that she possessed not only were admired while she was in school, no, they opened doors for her as a young adult too. For years she had great jobs making good money and acquiring many nice things. That ugly duckling was turning into a swan. As time continued to pass, more and more people wanted to be around her. At times, some people's behaviors became almost silly. They wanted to possess her, while others wanted to destroy her. Jill received carte blanche treatment wherever she went. When she was in her mid-20s, she was asked to tend bar in an exclusive discotheque. The manager knew that she would bring in the business. In fact, people would line up at her station just to have a few minutes alone with her. Her looks and her personality made her a star. She quickly became a headliner. She was adored by black, white, yellow, and brown. She was very good at her craft and an even better human being. One night, as she was wooing the crowd, she had her first encounter with the green people. See, a major drawback from being so popular is that after a while you really believe that everyone loves and cares about you. The night that Jill was introduced to the green people, she had no idea who or what they were. See, green people aren't green on the outside. No. They look just like everyone else. They are green on the inside. They are filled with jealousy and envy and they despised all the attention that Jill was receiving. They knew that they couldn't do anything about her looks or her smarts. However, if they could ruin her reputation, then maybe, just maybe, they could destroy her popularity. As the months and years passed, they played up to her popularity more and more. They worked hard at stroking her ego. Jill was so enthralled with the shiny lure of her popularity that she didn't realize their true intention. She never saw the hook coming. Once they had gained her trust, they turned up the attack. One night after the club closed and Jill was getting ready to leave, the green people showed up and talked her into going to an after party. Didn't sound like such a bad idea after all. Jill had been serving others all night and watching them partying it up. She felt that she deserved a reward. So off they went. It wasn't long after they arrived that she noticed how sexual these people were behaving. Then the mirrors came out, and they had piles of this white stuff on them. She knew what it was, but she had never tried it before. The green people kept on nudging her and promising her that she would be all right. Told her not to be a wimp and try some. Peer pressure can be dangerous, even deadly. They prepared some for her. They showed her how to do it and passed her the straw. Jill leaned over the mirror and tried some, and to her amazement, she liked it. She did more and more and more. The hook was set. Over the next 10 years, Jill was spending more and more time with the green people. And yes, doing more and more cocaine. Her once unique gifts turned her into just another addict. She found herself exchanging sexual favors, borrowing and stealing money. She began missing work and lying to her family, friends, and her boss. One Friday night at the bar, she was trying to keep herself together after being up for the past 2 days with no sleep. Jill was a mess. She had lost over 20 pounds and her personal hygiene was suffering. The customers that used to line up at her station were now getting the drinks from another bartender. She was becoming a headliner again, but not in the way that she used to be, and this was not going to end well for her. The green people showed up to witness the person whom they have created, and also tried to destroy. Their smirks and sarcastic remarks hurt Jill all the way down to the bone. They now controlled her. They saw the condition of Jill and tossed her a little sample to help take the edge off. Jill ran to the ladies' room and did it. When she returned, they were gone. Barely no time passed before her cravings were crawling all over her, and her source was gone. They left her to her misery. Finally, Jill couldn't stand the pain anymore, and she started acting a fool. Her boss saw and heard her, and he walked her to the door. He had to fire her. It pained him to have to do it because he remembered his once shining star. Her light had now gone out. Jill crawled around in the darkness for several more years. The good news is that she finally did come to herself. Her once good reputation had become a thing of the past. She now sincerely felt bad about the choices that she had made. She had disappointed many people during her dark days, and she really regretted them and wanted their forgiveness. She was afraid that they wouldn't, so she avoided them for a while. I wonder where that thought came from. As time passed, she kept on feeling this emptiness in her spirit, and it was growing stronger with each passing day. Finally, after praying all night, Jill decided to test the water. Have you ever seen a small child at the beach? They walk up to the edge of the water, and as the waves come in, they run for safety. I wonder what they're thinking. I do know that they are unsure, maybe even afraid. But with support and encouragement, they eventually get into the water. Some good people were brought into Jill's life once she decided to turn on her light again. And they encouraged and supported her to take a chance. Earlier I spoke of some good news for Jill. Well, sadly now I must tell you the bad news. See, when she went before all those people and poured her heart out to them, admitting her mistakes and asking for their forgiveness, most of them did. However, there were a few with their self-righteous, better-than-thou superior attitudes and hard hearts that wanted her to continue to crawl. They would walk right by her, speak to everyone around her, and totally ignore her. For the life of me, I just don't understand why some of us are so influenced by the few. Why their meanness can cause us such pain. Another thing that puzzles me is the few seem to get such satisfaction from causing such pain. Have they somehow forgotten all their mistakes? Have they somehow forgotten how many times that people have forgiven them of their messes? Nevertheless, Jill continued to try to show them that she has changed. Months and months and months passed by, and those few refused to soften their hearts. Many, many years ago, when I was a student of martial arts, my sensei one day asked me a question. He asked T, who would win the battle between the irresistible force versus the immovable object? After pondering that question for quite some time, one day he asked me the question again. This time I replied, Sensei, if it were up to me, then I would slide to the side and glide. I'll never forget the smile on his face. Jill came to the same conclusion. She finally decided that enough was enough. If they refused, for whatever reason, not to try and change, then she too would slide and glide. So she did. As the years went by, Jill rebuilt her life. It wasn't easy for her. She was determined, very determined, to get it back. She fell down a few times along the way, but she was beginning to remember and see who she once was, and she wanted that girl back. As time passed, her former good qualities were beginning to return. Her beauty and confidence were returning too. Now that her mind was clear and her spirit was free, she was meeting new, encouraging, ambitious people. In fact, a few of them saw in her and encouraged her to write stories about her life's journey. Jill came to the decision that if anyone else wants to only focus on the person who she was while in her storm and refuse to remember the person that she was prior to going into her mess, that she and we should make those people part of our past. She decided to listen to the people who recognized and appreciated how hard she fought to regain the real Jill. She found peace with the many who cared about her, and so can we. Jill was listening to what her friends were saying about her and repeating those things back to herself every time she looked into the mirror. Again, it wasn't easy at first for her to believe it. However, the more she heard it and recited it to herself, the easier it became, and before long, that smart, good-looking, and very personable girl had returned. Once again, Jill was comfortable in her own skin. She was loved again by her friends and herself. She was also able to give love again. She had turned what the few had intended to be stumbling blocks into stepping stones. She went on to help others on their journeys and continued to help herself. Our life is a journey. It's not a destination. And it's for life. Never give up. Love and peace, Brother Charles.